Hi, this is Ed Fitzpatrick. If you enjoy local politics as much as I do, be sure to join our friends at Rhode Island PBS for the show A Lively Experiment. Hosted by Jim Hummel, the weekly series features journalists, pundits, and politicians debating the stories and issues that matter most to us Rhode Islanders. Tune in to A Lively Experiment and be part of the conversation. Fridays at 7 p.m. on Rhode Island PBS and wherever you get your podcasts.
From the Boston Globe, this is Rhode Island Report. I'm Chris Gavin, in for Ed Fitzpatrick. Welcome back to the podcast where we bring you big conversations from our very small state. I'm the Express Desk reporter for Globe RI, and from time to time, I write about music. And today's episode is, well, about music. I'm here with Dewey Raposo of Rhode Island PBS, who produces Ocean State Sessions, a program that highlights local musicians. Later, we'll hear from Lainey Dionne, an indie pop singer-songwriter who's featured in this week's episode. Welcome, Dewey.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
For folks who haven't watched Ocean State Sessions before, tell us about the show.
So Ocean State Sessions is a show we have on Rhode Island PBS. It's going on its 5th season, which is airing right now. We just sort of try to bring our musicians into, the homes of the people in their community. We have them perform some songs. We interview them at a separate location, sort of get really into their day-to-day life. And I also play in a band, and we're all just kind of people just sort of, doing our thing, or living our day-to-day lives. So it's just a way to sort of throw some support at them and just sort of all support each other.
So it's my understanding you've been involved in this since the very beginning.
Right, yeah. So I actually pitched the show to my bosses back in 2020. We were having a little bit of downtime with all the pandemic. It was hard to, get out and produce video content like we do. People didn't really want us, coming into, close spaces and, interviewing. So we found a way to sort of actually bring the show to the Waterfire Center for the Arts, which is a really humongous open space. So we were able to do small acoustic acts in there with a small crew of about 4 of us at the time. And we were able to just sort of launch it really bare bones at that point. Over the course of time, we've gotten a little bit of support from the station and a little bit of funding, and we've been able to really build it up over the last 5 seasons.
So in the second half of the podcast, we're actually having one of the artists that's featured in this season. Lainey Dionne is going to be here. Can you tell us a little bit about her and her work?
Sure, yeah. Lainey's a Smithfield, Rhode Island native. She's a Berkeley graduate as well. She got herself a little record deal, put out an album. Her music was actually picked up to be placed on television programs, which is pretty interesting. I think that's something that made her story a little unique for this season. We're always trying to look for people that have, interesting stories. I think that's a pretty cool thread for a small little Rhode Island to see, one of their own out there on Teen Mom and big shows like that.
And she, I know, has been described as an indie pop artist. Is there something about her sound that really kind of jumped out at you and it was like, wow, we have to have her on the show?
Between the sound and the presentation, honestly, everything just is so professional and really well done. You can tell she's very practiced, very rehearsed. She knows what she wants in her music. I think that really comes across, and that's powerful, I think, for people watching and listening.
You mentioned earlier, this is your 5th season, right? Anything special planned this season, or can you give us a little tease of what you got in store for folks?
Yeah, so this season's been pretty interesting, I would say. It's very eclectic. Last season, we had a very wide variety of genres, I guess, for music. And I wasn't sure how we'd be able to follow that up, but we did it this year, and it's equally as impressive. We've got an improv group that plays sort of like jazz, R&B, rock sort of vibe. So they've been really interesting. We have a Native American group, the Eastern Medicine Singers, and they sit around a drum and sing songs in their native language. So I think this season's been equally as eclectic, but we're also looking now for community outreach and looking at events and maybe ways to actually get ourselves out there into the community, into these clubs with these bands. So I think that's what's so special about season 5 is the community outreach part of it is really going to be there.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dewey.
Thanks so much.
We'll hear from singer-songwriter Lainey Dionne after a quick break.
Okay. When you want to go beyond the headlines, let me recommend Rhode Island PBS Weekly. Rhode Island PBS Weekly is an award-winning news magazine broadcast that gives you the full story, powered by investigative journalism and narrative storytelling. New episodes of Rhode Island PBS Weekly drop Sundays at 7:30 p.m. on Rhode Island PBS. Watch past episodes at ripbs.org/weekly. That's ripbs.org/weekly.
We're back with Lainey Dionne. Lainey is a local musician from Smithfield who has been recording her own music for years and has also written songs for other artists and television shows. Welcome to the podcast, Lainey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. I thought, we'd maybe start at the beginning, so to speak. You began making music, as I understand, at a very early age. Mm-hmm. You grew up in Smithfield.
Yes.
Can you tell me, what made you start playing piano? Was it, did your parents force you into lessons, or was it always a passion?
Nope. Parents definitely forced me into lessons, but I fell in love with it. Yeah. I think I was like 5 or 6 years old. My parents made me do it.
When did it become fun, so to speak?
Piano was always a challenge for me, actually, which is surprising because I got into Berklee on piano. But shortly after taking piano lessons, I took fiddle lessons and learned Irish music. And that's always been like a fun thing for me because when I was like 5 years old, I took Irish step dancing. So I always loved like Eileen Ivers, who had a blue fiddle, and I always wanted to do that. So having the piano background was nice because you have all the theory and it's all laid out in front of you. But when you're playing like a fretted instrument like guitar or a stringed instrument, it's not so easy to visualize. So I learned by ear for that, which is also a great skill to have. Yeah.
I'm sure it serves you well still.
Yeah.
Yeah. A deciding moment for you as a musician came during a high school talent show.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So in high school, I had blue hair. I was very like goth, emo scene.
And this is sometime in the 2000s.
Oh, this is like 2009. And I really liked the band A Day to Remember. And in this one song, there's 3 parts where the crowd is singing one part and you and the main singer are harmonizing to a part. And I asked the crowd if they would all sing the crowd part.
It means a lot to me, but I did remember.
And they were like, well, how will we know? And I said, I'm going to kick my leg up. So I kicked my leg up high in the air and they all did the crowd part. And from there, I knew, I was like, wow, to have that, it's not power, but to have that, connection, that moment, of everybody doing the same thing at once. I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Was this at Smithfield High?
Oh, yeah. It's embarrassing. There's videos of it online. You can find it.
Then that kind of propelled you into Berklee in a way, or?
Yeah, so that's when I knew I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. And then I knew Berklee was so hard to get into. And I was like, I'm not going to get in. But luckily, I had that piano theory background, and I got in on piano, but shortly switched to voice.
You said earlier that you learned piano, you learned fiddle. Obviously, you're playing guitar here in studio today. The thread that kind of weaved all that together into the indie pop artist you are now.
Yeah, I feel like most Berklee kids just pick up every instrument when they're a kid. They just mess around with it. So I could play almost any instrument that's out there. I could pick it up and learn it pretty quick. But after going to Berklee, I really liked the folk sound. So the first EP I ever came out with was a folk indie EP. And then once I got signed in Nashville, they were like, none of that, you should do pop. And I really like indie pop music. So I just kind of kept the folk storytelling of having personal experiences and transferred that to the more production pop sound. And then that's when the first album came out.
So it was kind of something that was made apparent to you. It's like, hey, this would be a sound that would really suit your voice and what you're going after.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Can you take me through a little bit of your history as a recording artist? I know that your first full-length album came out in 2021, self-titled, right? So a lot of raw emotions there. You touch on heartbreak, love lost. Where did you find inspiration in that album? And, is there a moment in your life that it captures? Or, I feel like a lot of artists put out a debut album. They're collecting these songs for years, and this is their chance to show their best.
Yeah. So, there's a couple of exes on that album, but it's all about exes. I would say I have a history of dating foreign people, so I I will go and I'll fly different places to go and have a romantic adventure with these people. So there's a couple of different songs on the album that have those city names in it. So like Hey London and stuff like that. So there's a couple different X's on that album, but it's definitely from personal experience that I've collected. I'd say maybe around 3 years, but all the songs were written at once.
And your work since then, you've been, as I understand, putting out a bunch of singles.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it an opportunity to kind of try different sounds? Or...
Nope. So I learned the hard way that when you put out an album, some of the songs kind of get lost towards the end track numbers. So I'm not going to do an album again unless all of the songs are out as singles first, so that all songs get equal opportunity to be heard before putting them out.
So are you kind of collecting singles then for?
Oh, yep.
Like what's the future
Yeah,
hold?
so we're going to be releasing one of our favorite songs. It's a song called Wired up next. And that song's about having social anxiety and how hard it is to overcome like panic attacks in those moments. But it's a super rockin' song. It doesn't sound sad. We're just going to keep collecting and keep writing and release them all together after they're all out.
All right. I want to take a moment here to ask if you might be able to play us something
Yeah.
for a minute and maybe start by telling us what we're about to hear and maybe introduce the bassist that we have here in the room as well.
So I'm going to play a song off of my second EP. It's called Heart of a Goddess. The song on it is called Yours and Mine. And my bassist in here is Jay Capaldi. He owns Let's Rock in Coventry, the School of Music. And a little bit about the song, it's about that giddy feeling that you get when you're a kid and you have your first crush. And I feel like that feeling never goes away even as you're an adult. And that feeling's like almost the best feeling in the world when you first find somebody that you connect with. And so I captured it in a song. All right, here's Yours and Mine. When we lock eyes, you owe me, and honestly, I want you to. I cannot hide how badly I've been waiting to be alone with you. Every time we touch, I lose my focus, feel it in my blood rushing on my heart. I'm suddenly out of my body, losing your lips tracing on me. 3, 2, 1, and we both can't deny the sound of our souls are colliding, symphony all through the night. And when you say my name, I lose my mind. I'm yours and you're mine. I'm yours and you're mine. Hands intertwined, I crave you out of the blue is creeping in. A love that's amplified. You whisper, don't be shy. So good I might just die. Oh, oh, oh. I'm suddenly out of my body. I see your lips tracing on me. 3, 2, 1, and we both can't deny the sound of our souls are colliding, symphony all through the night. And when you say my name, I lose my mind. I'm yours and you're mine. I'm yours and you're mine. If I'm being brutally honest, you're brutally handsome, and somehow you want me to. You say I'm beautifully guarded, got the heart of a goddess, never met someone like you. Only thing that I could think about is how to catch my breath when you're around me. From strangers to lovers to killing without hers. Oh, oh, body, lost your lips tracing on me. 3, 2, 1, and we both can't deny the sound of our souls are colliding, symphony all through the night. And when you say my name, I lose my mind. I'm suddenly out of my body, on me. 3, 2, 1, and we both can't deny.
Tell me where you were when you wrote that song.
So I was signed for a little bit down in Nashville. While I was there, I got to work with like incredible people, like the writers for Dua Lipa, the Jonas Brothers, Backstreet Boys, like big writers and stuff. And I got to meet tons of incredible songwriters during that deal. And me and Hannah Schaefer ended up writing that song together on Zoom, which was great, about a crush that I had at the time.
I was going to ask you, I know that you've written for other artists as well as a songwriter. My understanding is for TV shows on, MTV, Peacock, Amazon Prime, others. Is there a different mindset to your songwriting when you're writing for someone else or when you're working with another writer?
So when I'm writing for myself, I'm like usually like crying in my room, because it's a lot of breakup songs. But when I'm writing for TV, like sometimes I have to put on like a country accent for a couple shows that I'm doing, or I have to rap. So when I'm doing that, I look at it as more of like a job, like I'm an actor and I have to sell the scene. So it's more of like a selling point. Like, how can I put myself into this storytelling role where now suddenly I'm on a catwalk and I'm doing Project Runway? So definitely not as emotionally attached to those songs because it's more of like a fun exercise. But when I'm writing for myself, it's definitely a process.
Do you always know who you're writing for when you sit down to write?
Yeah. So when I'm writing for somebody else, I'm sitting in the room with the person writing for them. So we're collaborating together, coming up with what their story is or what my story is that I can add to it. There's a couple of songs that I've lent out to other people that they released, and it's gotten millions upon millions of streams, but I wish I had it because I love that song. But yeah, when I'm writing for TV, I mean, it's not like the same process at all. So it's completely like I'm not attached,
So you studied music business at Berkeley, right? I'm wondering if it serves you in any way as a working musician now.
All the time, every day, every second of the day, yes. Having the contract law background, as well as being able to navigate all of the different networking avenues that comes in the business and know what each of them means and know what each role it plays is incredible to have. I would not be where I am without going to Berkeley. And I mean, I also do consultations for other artists now because of that music business degree and having that knowledge and that experience in the industry. So I'm able to give that back to the community as well.
Is that what it takes to kind of be able to do this work and do your art these days? I know this has been said for years and years now. I mean, people can make albums in their own bedrooms.
Yes.
And it's great that they cut out the middleman, but also when you don't have, a whole big label or something behind you with all of those other resources,
yeah,
you're in charge of flying your own plane.
Yes. You can do everything in your own bedroom and people do it all the time and it sounds great. But unless you have that go-getter mentality of I need to be in the rooms with these people, I need to go to these networking events, I need to get in touch with these people. And not just, this is like my pet peeve in the industry because people do this all the time, not just, hey, what can you give me? Can you give me this? Can you give me this contact? Can you do this? Or how can I help you? Like what can we do to collaborate together? I love your music. Can you tell me what you did that inspired you? I think having that two-way connection and being able to have the mindset of knowing that it's going to be hard, it's not going to fall into your lap and people aren't going to want to do it for you. You got to put into the work and you got to be humble about it and kind too.
Let me ask you too, that kind of leads into my next question of what is it like being a working musician in Rhode Island right now? What's the landscape of the local scene here?
Yeah, so weirdly enough, I feel like the pandemic kind of helped with that. I know, such a silver lining to such a deep, dark time. But being able to play shows online, as well as collaborating with people, really opened because people had to collaborate online. So being able to do all the TV stuff online. Now I remotely do all of my albums. So I record them here at a studio in Smithfield called True Music Studios. And then I send those raw tracks to Nashville and they mix and master it and do everything. And yeah, so being able to do everything online in Rhode Island is great. But also being able to see the people and go out and play shows everywhere is really where the magic happens.
Do you have any advice for someone who's looking to be a professional musician here in Rhode Island?
Yeah, I would say mindset is everything. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, but also don't reach out to people just to ask for things. Make a connection. People are human, Everybody appreciates being appreciated. So definitely reach out, be humble, be kind, offer support. I think that goes a long way.
One other thing, you clearly had a very busy 2024. It's now January 2025. What's in store for this year?
2024, I was asked to be a part of the Grammys board. So I'm a part of the Academy now, which means I can vote and stuff. I think this year, at the end of this year, I'm going to apply to actually go to the Grammys for next year, which is going to be fun. A lot of music is going to come out. A lot of shows are going to be happening, a lot of different collaborations, and yeah, stay tuned.
Is there a particular place people can see you most often?
I do have a couple of residencies. One is in Middletown, Johnny's. I also play Waterfall Cafe in Harrisville. Yeah, I mean, you could see me at a bunch of different. It's all on LaineyDionne.com, but I play like over 100 venues, and I play 3 nights a week, so you can see me a lot of different places.
Lainey Dionne, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I understand you're going to play us out.
Yeah, here's a song called Damned.
I don't usually get annoyed easily, but I've been sick, hiding these feelings. It's always been about you, never been about me. Your ego gets through the ceiling every time I think we're going somewhere. You turn around and say it's going nowhere. It's like talking to a brick wall, waiting for you to say what I want to hear, thinking it's my fault, but I can't control that. You don't really care. If you're done with me, then I will let you leave. I'll never understand what happened, but now I don't give a damn.
You can see a performance by Lainey Dionne on this week's episode of Ocean State Sessions at ripbs.org. Rhode Island Report is a production of the Boston Globe in collaboration with Rhode Island PBS. Today's episode was produced by Megan Hall. Audio mixing and mastering by Marissa Ewing of Hemlock Creek Productions. I'm Chris Gavin, in for Ed Fitzpatrick. Ed will be back next week.
Say what I want to hear, thinking it's my fault, but I can't control that. You don't really care. If you're done with me, then I will let you leave. I'll never understand what happened, but now I don't give a damn. No, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. No, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. No, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn.
Looking to binge watch all your favorite PBS shows? You need Rhode Island PBS Passport, Masterpiece, Antiques Roadshow, Rhode Island PBS Weekly, and many more. Watch them all